And you only get to be Superman so long in this league. Okay, he gave us 8 years of the cape, or he was never hurt. So this year and last year, Giannis is getting banged up, like KD. He's got a title, like KD. Feel like they're forcing him back. And remember, this team may be a 2 seed in the East. They're 15-14 against the West, and they're trying to get titles. So I'm going to throw it out there. They've given up their first-round picks, either because of pick swaps or they had to get Dame or Drew Holiday. So they don't really have first-round picks. And it's an old roster where Bobby Portis is the kid, and he's 29. So let me ask you again. The Sixers get Embiid. They're not beating Boston. The Sixers get Embiid. I take the Sixers. They hopefully get the Cavs. They don't want Miami. So does it look like a little like KD, where we perceive it, nice guy, ascending player, gets a title or two, and then there's pressure, his personality a little snippy, not necessarily comfortable, you're hearing things, they rush him back in a very pivotal year, gets hurt, and it all changes.
Yeah, there's probably something there. And Strauss can talk about it at length, but the Kevin Durant angle that he couldn't deal with was he went to a team that had beaten him the year before, and it wasn't, quote unquote, his team. They were Steph Curry's team.
That's right.
And KD has those rabbit ears where he hears and reads my Instagram stuff and has issues. I don't know that Giannis is letting the fans.
I would say Giannis hears things too.
Oh.
Remember when he came? Greece, he's a good kid. You see him at McDonald's on the IG. He's one of the people. And then he gets coaches fired and another. And they move Drew Holiday, the Hail Mary for Dame. I like Giannis, but he's now been westernized. He wants titles. They have no first-round picks. It's an old roster. How do you do a reboot? Nobody wants old, average, expensive guys. The only way out to get more titles for Giannis, to me, is leave. This roster needs remaking. They don't have the picks. Who are they going to move outside of Giannis to get anybody? Nobody's given anything up for Bobby Portis, older Dame. So I mean, you're trapped.
I would agree. Yeah, he needs to get out to win.
And if they get bounced early by Philly or Miami, then it gets louder.
DEFCON 1 for sure in Milwaukee.
Listen, the Warriors will take him. You can have 5 first-round picks and Jonathan Kuminga.
My Knicks can put together a better package.
No, I think if I was New York, I would go all in.
And then you've got Brunson, Anunoby, and Giannis as like a big 3.
No, I don't disagree with it. All right.
So, okay. I think this clip is really interesting for multiple reasons. One, Colin's take about Giannis becoming westernized, I think, is actually one of his best takes, honestly, because I've never heard anyone else really talk about it, whether first things first take, like no one. And I think it's very on point, without a doubt. You know, Giannis has changed over the years, which everyone does, right? He's also just maturing and getting older, making more money, more fame, all of that type of stuff. But he was this more like, I'm just happy to be here, grateful, you know, all this. And then he became more like a traditional American athlete in that regard. He is a lot more snarky and combative a little bit, because he does feel that pressure, right? It's like you in especially in the NBA, it's like you win a championship, but it's like, okay, well, you got to win like another 3 just to be considered great. You know, like winning 1 doesn't mean anything. 2 barely even means anything. Like you got to come on, you got to win 3, 4, 5. Like, what, you know, what are you doing? And I can see that being exhausting, you know. But and I think we've seen that in his personality. Now, I will say this though. Giannis can't handle New York. I don't think so at all. I don't want this to come off that I'm saying that I think Giannis is weak, but New York is a different city. One, for any of you who haven't been to New York, it's massive. Massive, 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 massive. It is just, there is just so much going on there. And I don't mean to insult anyone, because I know I've talked to people from literally all over the world, really, but majority, of course, in the country. Not everyone has had access to cities like New York, and you only see it, you know, in movies or TV shows, and it doesn't do it justice, especially if you're from, like, you know, somewhere in the middle of the country or more rural areas, or even just smaller cities like a Milwaukee, for instance. It's just on a completely different level. It's just so massive, so much going on, and the fans are so intense out east, right? You know, New York, Philly, Boston, because they just live and die for sports. And Colin has actually talked about this and very right, I believe. You know, like out west, it's like, you know, if your team loses, it's like, oh, you're bummed, obviously, but like, whatever, I'm gonna go to the beach, you know, is what he always says. And it's true. You know, out here, out east, you know, it's February, it's freezing cold, and if, you know, the Giants lose, they lose 3 games in a row, you're just like, you're so angry because you're like, oh my God, this is the one thing I get to look forward to, you know, during the winter. It's like watching my team actually play well. I lived on both coasts. Out west, yeah, I saw people wear jerseys and stuff and they like their sports, but it was like not that big of a deal. In the East Coast, it's mayhem. Mayhem, especially if your city's team is winning. It's just you just feel it, you know it, you see it. It's just different levels. If Giannis doesn't succeed, and the problem is that Giannis is probably on a downward trajectory at this point. You know, he's getting banged up more. I know he's playing great and he's a great player. I think Giannis is elite. I think there's a little confusion about my take previously about Giannis, about me saying that he doesn't have the natural born instincts and IQ of a LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Steph Curry. And people took issue that I said Paul George even. My point of bringing up Paul George is not to say that Paul George is better than Giannis, but that Paul George knows what to do in all the situations that basketball has to offer. Giannis doesn't. And that holds Giannis back when it comes to success in the playoffs. And again, look no further than where he's reached. Giannis, considering how good he is, should have more success. No question. I just don't see how you could possibly debate that. If we talk about all these great players, and that's why I always list them and say Kobe, LeBron, you know, Steph, KD, we say all these, and it's like we're supposed to put Giannis in that category, and yet Giannis has only been to 1 NBA Finals. 1. All those guys have been to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know? So, and I get it. It's not all on Giannis 100%. But to me, it's an indicator of his. I think Giannis would be a better number 2, personally, even though he can score like a number 1. But he can't control the game. He can't control the flow of the game. He doesn't understand the game as deeply as a LeBron James, you know, and that's just a reality to me. And again, it's not a knock on him. It's really, really not. KD, for instance, did not, you know, he wanted to go to the Golden State Warriors. He did not want it to be my team. He didn't care about that. Other players really, really care. And in KD's own words are, I just want a ball. He doesn't want to think about any of this stuff. He just wants to ball. He doesn't want any of the drama. He doesn't want any of the politics. He just wants to ball. And that's why he was in heaven in Golden State. But as, you know, J-Mac points out, he has rabbit ears, and he then got in his head and said, okay, well, now I got to go win somewhere else. And he almost beat the Milwaukee Bucks completely alone. He had his tiny little toe on the three-point line, and that changed everything. But so I think with this injury, I would not, if I'm Giannis, I'm not rushing back. I am not risking tearing my Achilles for this team. Because the chance of them winning a championship, I mean, I want to say nearly 0, but of course it's not 0. But it's not high. 10%, 15, 20%. They can't beat the Celtics. I don't think they can beat the Sixers. I don't think they're beating any team in the West, no matter who comes out of there. Unless, you know, I don't know. My God, I'm trying to think. Unless somehow everybody just gets, you know, super sick, and somehow the Houston Rockets somehow, you know, get there. If it's even mathematically possible at this point. I mean, it's just like, I just don't see them beating anyone, whether it be the Timberwolves, whether it be the Nuggets, OKC, Golden State Warriors. I mean, no one. I'm just not seeing it. So if I'm Giannis, I'm thinking, yes, this sucks. Yes, my career right now has taken a turn. These last 2 years are not going as I envisioned. And then you have to reassess the situation. I agree, it is better for him to leave. Absolutely. Now, where exactly? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly where he should go. It all depends. Does he want to win? Does he just want to play high-level basketball? Because this is what I said before. Him going to Golden State, he would be able to thrive because the brains on the court are Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. That's high IQ basketball. Just watch how Giannis has played over the years and watch any Golden State Warriors game. It's just high IQ. And same thing again, as I also referenced before, the San Antonio Spurs and the Miami Heat with LeBron James. It's just a different style of basketball that you can see that you need mature, high IQ players to play with. And that's just not Giannis. And I'm not saying he's dumb. It's just because he's such an athletic freak, he hasn't had to develop that aspect of his game. And you see this with a lot of, athletic freaks. Whether it's football, baseball, basketball. I played baseball with one of the best athletes I ever played, who was absolutely brilliant, amazing. He was 10 times better than me. I understood baseball way more. I knew exactly what to do in every single play, and he did not. Because he was just so athletically gifted that he didn't need to. And he just didn't soak it up like I did for whatever reason. It's not like I did it on purpose necessarily. It was just, I also had my dad who was, very into baseball, who was always, feeding me all this information from day one. And he didn't have that at home, the person that I'm referencing. So it's just different. It really is different. And to me, that's where Giannis is at. That's why Giannis was such a late bloomer. Again, look no further than that. If you don't agree with me, just look no further that Giannis was such a late bloomer. No one even knew who he was for years. And then out of nowhere, it just kind of happened. Because his athleticism caught up. And his body caught up. And he got bigger and stronger. And when you're big and strong in the NBA, you're going to be a force. It's just the reality. It's something like if you're over 7 feet tall, it's like something crazy. Like you have a 1 in 4 chance of, or something seriously like that, of 1 in 4 chance of making it to the NBA. Like it's just wild. I just think that if you're Giannis, you do not come back if there's any risk of further injury. You just say, this sucks. I'm heartbroken. I really wanted to be able to compete. I wanted to fight on the court. I wanted to see what I could do with Dame, but I got to be smart. And then you do get out of there. Either the Bucks somehow make moves to get players, right? Like they make a play, and I'm making stuff up here, to get Klay Thompson or Steph Curry. They're the ones that make the moves. And if not, if they don't have the ability to do so, then Giannis says, Milwaukee, I won you a championship. I've given you amazing years. I put this franchise on the map. People are actually talking about it. People are actually buying these jerseys. You've done nothing for decades until me. Please send me to a legitimate championship prospect. Whether they've listened or not, I have no idea. But that's what I would do if I was Giannis. I'm not risking sitting out now for an entire season because of a torn Achilles. And the truth is, since Giannis's game is so much predicated on his athleticism, a Achilles injury will hurt him more than, say, a KD, who is a pure gifted shooter and scorer, who's athletic, but not the athletic freak that Giannis is. Giannis needs his athleticism, so he needs to preserve it at all costs. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussion, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.